Okay, I am recording also.
Hooray!
Welcome, episode 13.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to Wingin' It.
Dun,
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 dun, dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, dun, dun.
It's like,
that's a good start.
I think it's actually worse every time we do it. So just imagine.
I think it is too, but that really takes
By the time we get to season 7, we're just going to be singing like the theme song.
It doesn't sound nothing like it.
Zoo. It's just not going to be in any way, shape, or form recognizable.
I think it'd be excellent. I think it's great.
A good theme song. Also, you might have noticed that we pitched the theme song a little bit lower today because I think Sally and I are both a little bit vocally not as 100% as we normally are.
We're a little under the weather. Yeah.
We apologize.
Had we tried to record this 2 or 3 days ago, I would not have been able to even speak, which would have been a very sad podcast.
Sally's not used to having to take care of her podcast instrument, her voice, so much.
Yeah.
Now you know what it's like to be Barbra Streisand or Celine Dion.
Oh, is this what it's like? Wow.
Is it everything you ever hoped it would be?
It's pretty. It's a little bit easier than I thought it would be, to be honest.
It's true. It's hard out there for Celine.
So, hello, wingers. Is that? I don't think that's the thing. I think I just made that up. But we're really excited. This is the first time we're recording since we have gone live with the podcast and the Twitter and everything, etc.
It's all happening.
It's all happening, which is terrifying and exciting at the same time. But you guys have been excited. We've got followers. It's cool that somebody noted this on Instagram, and I'm just going to repeat it as if I came up with it, but not because I just gave them a shout out. But they said it's cool that a show that went off the air, 9 years ago, is a podcast about that show can be on New and Noteworthy in iTunes. Like, that shows some dedication, guys. So, wingers, pat yourselves on the back, because that's awesome.
Yeah, we're super excited. We were very nervous, but it's been fun to share this with the world. It's kind of like giving birth, but not as gross, I would imagine. So...
we wouldn't even know.
So we definitely want your feedback. If you haven't left a rating or a review on iTunes, you're welcome to do that if you so choose. You can also just you can tweet at us if you're on the Twitter. Mm-hmm. But we know not everybody's on Twitter.
Or if you're like me and you couldn't possibly keep your thoughts to 140 characters, you can also shoot us an email at TheWestWingPodcast at gmail.com. TheWestWingPodcast at gmail.com. Because you can tell us, you can just tell us all your thoughts and feelings about the episodes. If we got something wrong, for instance, somebody has let me know that they do in fact still use pagers in the medical field, as we incorrectly assumed in the pilot episode.
I love that. Real time updates.
Yeah. So tell us what you're feeling. If you really love Mandy and want to defend her, you can write in, and we will just immediately delete that email. But anything else, we are all ears.
Yes, we are all of the ears that we can find. So
because we want to chat about all things West Wing. That's the whole point.
Nerd out together.
Send us your feelings.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cool. So. All right, well, we're in episode 13, which is Take Out the Trash Day.
Yeah.
And I was just in Chicago, so I'm in a very nasally sort of, speaking accent space.
That's okay. We'll just
props to our Chicago listeners, if there are any. So we're going to try to change it up a little bit today, because we're always trying to improve upon what we're doing. So if you guys have feedback on that, we're going to try to get some microphones. We're going to try to make this really legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of flying blind on what people are going to like and not like, what will work and won't work. So we're just going to keep trying to improve it. We want it to be West Wing worthy.
Yes.
That's a long shot, but we want it to work as well as possible. Sure. So we're going to do things a little differently. We usually go chronologically. We're going to start with our TikTok and go over the episode quickly, and then we're just going to sort of chat a little more freely about the episode as a whole instead of going boom, 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 boom down the line.
We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's worth a shot anyway. We'll see what works, what doesn't work. We'll give
what
feedback.
is a podcast for if not experimenting?
Yeah.
It's like a laboratory for words. It's a word laboratory. Okay.
Well, the point is for the listeners to enjoy it, not necessarily for us. So, like, we've got to figure out what you guys want. So, shout out to us.
Holla back, youngin'. Whoop, whoop. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the TikTok. These are the main things that happen in the episode. I'm going to just kind of run it down for you guys. So,
do it.
I really don't know how to phrase it. There's some sort of teacher's bill that's in play. And part of the stipulation attached to the bill is that this abstinence plus program be involved, be taught in schools. Okay, so this comes into play because Leo's controversy about the fact that he went to rehab for drugs and alcohol, that's still going on. And the bill comes into play because Josh and Sam go to meet with Republicans on the Hill to try to strike a deal to not have a trial for Leo, just try to keep it a little bit less front and center, right? So that bill comes into play because they said, okay, if you institute this abstinence plus program, whatever. Oh wait, no. If you table it until after the midterms, then we won't go to trial, right? Is that right, or is it the opposite?
Yeah, that is correct. If you don't, if you table it, then we don't have to have a hearing, not a trial, a hearing. Yeah.
Oh wait, or did they want? Yeah. Did they want the bill? No, they want to shelve it.
No, they want the bill. They wanted them to table the report talk. Because they're all reading this report, and they're going to come back and fight the abstinence plus thing, and they're telling them just hold off on that fight for a minute.
Okay. So the other thing, two other main things that happened in the episode. One, they find out who leaked Leo's file to Lillian Field to begin with. So that's a big deal, and we'll come back to that. We also revisit the story of the Lydells, whose son was killed for being gay. And they're bringing the Lydells to the White House because they're instituting new hate crime legislation. And there's some concern about the father, Lydell, being a potential PR liability. So CJ and the communications folks are all dealing with that. So that is the TikTok. That's what happens. Granted, we didn't really mention like what Bartlett does moment by moment, but this is our version of the TikTok. So there you go.
Yeah, it's just, not an actual moment-by-moment thing, but just a quick overview, because it's hard to remember all the things that happen if you're not actually rewatching with us, which, I want to watch too quickly to rewatch with a podcast, I think, and other West Wingers might be the same way, that, like, putting out 2 podcasts a week, like, I'm like, I'm going to watch, like, a whole season this week. So.
I know, it's actually been funny because I've never had to be so disciplined about things. Like, I would have watched... Yeah, I'm watching less West Wing doing this podcast than I was before.
Right. I am, too. Because every time it starts, like, I finish the episode that I'm supposed to be recording on soon, and then it's like, oh, the next episode will play in 6 seconds. And I'm like, yeah, all right. And then I'm like, no, wait, I can't. Because then I'll want to talk about that one.
And I'll just get them mixed up.
Yeah, it takes a lot of discipline.
I'll just get them mixed up. Like, this is what happens. Because there's so much that happens in each episode.
There's so much. There's too much. Not too much. There's just the right amount.
Just right. Do you normally
do
watch
I know?
in order, or do you jump around?
I guess I jump around because I've never fully rewatched all the way through. This would be my first full rewatch. So the answer is I jump around, or at least I skip episodes that I'm like about. Yeah, I just rewatch my favorites, I guess.
Okay. Cool. All right. There's some people...
But that's also to say, I mean, The West Wing was a semi-recent thing for me, because I know some people on Twitter have shouted out about, like, I rewatch at least once or twice a year, and, like, I only watched a year or 2 ago, so it hasn't come time for me to do my whole first rewatch through, I guess.
I feel like it's very disciplined. I just like kind of coloring outside of the lines and cherry picking episodes from different seasons.
Yeah.
So, I was just interested. People have different approaches to how they rewatch things. But if you're watching this for the first time, how exciting for you. So stoked.
So that's really exciting, and I'm very jealous.
I can't wait till my brother watches it. He's been holding out. I think he's scared of not liking it and then feeling like we can't be siblings. But he's stuck with me either way, so he just needs to get on board.
I try and get everybody I know to watch it. One of my very dear friends is watching it right now, and she's texting me. She just texts me randomly as things happen.
Oh.
Yeah, like right now.
Where is she in the series?
And my parents just finished their first watch. This is really, I'm sure this is just incredibly interesting listening for the people listening. But anyway, my parents just finished their first watch, and that was really fun too. So anyway, it's about this episode.
Let's start with like a hashtag rewatch or hashtag like first watch. I think the restaurant first watch will probably appreciate that effort.
Yeah, to let us know how they're watching.
Okay.
So this episode.
Take out the trash day.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. One of my first things that I was wondering is, like, do we think this idea of take out the trash day is still applicable in this day and age of instant news? They're really, like, they couldn't wait until Friday to, like, dump the news.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's definitely a different time. I mean...
Yeah.
I wonder that as well. In case you don't recall, or, I mean, this is not something that was very present to me before I watched this episode. I didn't really think about it. But take out the trash day just means that they keep a bunch of stories that they don't want to be bigger stories, and they bundle them all together and they release them all at the same time. And it's because in the episode they say, you know, if you only have 5 inches of space in the newspaper, if you give them 5 stories, then each story only gets an inch or something like that, rather than it being a bigger story, which is not applicable anyway.
I mean that still is applicable in newspapers, but very few people are still getting all of their information from newspapers. So, and don't you feel like now it's more of a like, I feel like the press briefings now, like, we get new information from press briefings and from White House comments, but it's almost like we have most of the information and the White House is just commenting on it. Like, the White House is putting in their 2 cents. Like, we have such instant news now that it's more rare that the White House is breaking news.
Yeah, it's a different time.
So it seems like it doesn't apply. Yeah, it definitely is. So
but they probably do it.
That's just something interesting.
Because I do social media for some folks, and there are obviously certain times of day that you release things because people are more online at certain hours, or you know, even on the weekend. You know, there's just different behavior patterns. So they could still have a version of take out the trash, but it's definitely different. So
yeah, that's very true. Just timing different stories. It's interesting to think about.
For sure. So in terms of other things that happen as all of these plot points play out, oh my gosh, we just have to drop in some of the audio for the scene where Josh is talking to CJ about this, like, abstinence plus bill, which is hilarious. And I mean, I wish I could just drop in the whole scene. I'd probably get sued and thrown in some sort of...
Well, the abstinence, the sex report makes for some fun moments throughout the whole episode, but CJ and Josh, that's a fun one for sure.
And then there's Mrs. Landingham and Bartlett, which we'll play that clip as well. But it's so good. This is a scene where Josh is talking to CJ about the sex bill, abstinence plus.
Hello.
We've got a bit of a sticky wicket.
Please don't tell me I'm staying here and working late tonight.
I need you to read a report.
I'm a woman in her prime, Josh. I'm a prime woman.
There's no doubt about it, but I need you to read this anyway.
What is it?
We want Congress to sign off on funds for 100,000 new teachers. They say fine, but you got to stipulate that in sex ed classes...
Abstinence only?
Yes.
I would have no trouble passing such a class.
I mean, it's just so good. I just love... I love CJ and I love Josh, and... It's funny all throughout.
I think it's better. I really think the audio clips are so much better because I know that, like, when we just read their lines, it does nothing for it. You know, we're like, oh, it's so funny because he says this. And it's just, like, totally flat delivery. So I'm glad we're putting in their lines because...
I like consulting ourselves on our own podcast.
Hey, I'm funny on my own. I'm insulting my delivery of their dialogue.
Yeah, my delivery has
I'm sure that our listeners would agree.
No, it's true. See, again,
It's just more fun to hear Josh say the lines or to hear Leo say it. Like, it's just more fun to hear them say it.
It's true. If we could just play the whole episode, I mean, we could probably...
Yeah, that's what the podcast should be. It's just going to be a podcast of the episodes.
Yeah, it's just going to be us
fun,
laughing.
right?
It's going to be a laugh track to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
episode, or sniffling if there's something sad. Because we're
Wingin' It
two-dimensional.
update will just be us reacting to the episode.
We'll do a live one.
With our
We'll do a
emotions.
live one eventually. And by live, obviously
Yeah.
not like a new episode, although a girl can dream, so...
Oh, a girl can dream.
So there's...
Danny and CJ have a moment, and Danny has a lead on this aide to the vice president, something or other, which really was a small storyline, but that led to a bigger storyline. Because Danny has a lead that, I think it's an aide to the vice president.
Yes.
Somebody flew a military helicopter down to play golf, and that's obviously a no-no.
Yeah.
And they had the military helicopter, wait while they played golf. But somebody in the White House leaked this story. And so throughout the episode, they're trying to find out who leaked the story, which we don't really understand, or maybe other people got this way before I did. I didn't really understand the importance of it until the very end when Sam is talking to the leak that they find.
Yeah, I didn't either. Everyone was all a flurry.
Because they're trying to find the leak. Maybe there was other foreshadowing and people knew from the beginning that... essentially, I mean, I can go ahead and say, in the end, it turns out that the person that leaked the story about the vice president's aide is the person who leaked Leo's personnel file.
And who?
Dun, dun,
And
dun.
who was it?
It was Paris Geller.
Paris Geller from Gilmore Girls, guys.
Paris, you've gone so far off the
Paris,
rails.
you just never play people that are pleasant.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Gilmore Girls
she
reference.
is... Yeah, that Paris Geller from Gilmore Girls, for those who didn't watch Gilmore Girls. She's now on Scandal.
She is?
But funnily enough, she is. She's on Scandal. Funnily enough, there is another Gilmore Girls alum. Well, not alum, because this would have been before.
Yes.
Probably. Well, but Headmaster Charleston is Simon Bly in this episode.
Yeah, so Leo...
Who comes to talk to Leo, which, can we talk about his accent? What is his accent?
I don't
is this
know.
He's not English. He's not British. He's old...
like Frasier.
I don't even know what... Yeah,
some people that speak with a proper English...
not
Busso
British,
profundo.
but yeah.
I don't know.
It's very strange. So 2 Gilmore Girls people in this episode, but that accent, I think we said Simon Bly, who's talking to Leo, who Leo sort of gets sassy at, which we'll get to in a minute. He is also on Gilmore Girls, so
2 Gilmores.
pretty fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
the co-stars, the guest stars on this show, rather, are just, there's so many. We've got, not in this episode specifically, but just throughout the whole series. I mean, we've got people from Parks and Rec, people from Lost, Gilmore Girls,
Yep.
Roseanne.
Jane Lynch is in an episode as a reporter.
Lynch. Yeah, there's so many.
Matthew Perry.
Yes, Friends. Oh,
Mhm.
gosh. We need to keep a running list.
It's a fun sprinkling of people throughout the whole series.
It's a veritable who's who. It's like a dinner party of all really cool people.
Yep. So we find out that this girl, I can't remember what her name
Karen
turns out to be in the, Karen Larson, that's right, in the show, she leaked Leo's personnel file, which leads us, how did you feel about the end of her story about Leo?
Okay.
Leo and she have a moment, and they have a talk.
A whole scene.
And Leo decides to give her a second chance.
No, I'm sorry. That would never happen. Nuh-uh.
I think
No.
my mom really hated it. Me and my mom have talked about this. We chat about the West Wing all the time, which is just the best. But she really hated that Leo gave her a second chance.
Yeah.
I really thought I think I hated it the first time I watched it, but watching it again, they mentioned that both of their fathers were alcoholics. Yeah. That her father was an alcoholic and his father was an alcoholic. And I think that Leo does it because he assumes that Karen, this girl, has seen this in his personnel file and has assumed that he is just like her father, and that's why she like turned it over, because she sort of hated that type of guy, and it wasn't good that he got to be in the White House, and that's why she did it. And I think that's why he gives her a second chance. Once they've met, she says something like, "You're not anything like I thought you would be."
Yeah, and he said,
because she thought he would be that kind of guy, and he's not. And I think so. I sort of thought it was great. I mean, it gives us a glimpse into into Leo's character, that he could be so forgiving and just sympathetic to somebody else who had the same kind of upbringing.
Yeah, and he does say, like, a part of me wonders if it wasn't a little bit brave, which the whole, like, whistleblowing thing, and, you know, it's,
well, yeah. That's a whole, the fact that she handed over classified, I mean, that's sort of a thing in general, but I just think Leo related to her so much about having an alcoholic father.
I just don't think it would have happened in real life. But a lot of people give The West Wing
right.
criticism because it's, like, too optimistic, I think. But, you know,
it's very idealized.
Whatever.
It wouldn't have happened in real life.
Yeah, I don't think so. But it was fun to see Paris, and it was kind of an aha moment when you realize Sam brings her in to fire her. And Sam, I mean, Rob Lowe.
Sam was pissed.
He killed it.
That was a great scene because he was so angry, but he was very concise in his anger, and I really liked that. Like, you didn't really see him fly off the handle. Yeah. He was controlled, but you could still tell how angry he was, and I thought that was a great way to handle that scene.
He's had more than one of those types of moments in the series already. Like when they're attacking Josh in the previous episodes. In the hearing not the hearing, but in the chat about Leo, and he says something like, bust you open
like a pinata or something like that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good, don't mess with Sam moments.
Yes. So shout out to Rob Lowe. Although, if you're listening, which we know you are.
We know you, Rob. We know you're listening.
We know you have so much free time.
It's true. But we do have we have a funny moment with Rob. I guess we'll call him Sam since this is not real life. So that Sam has with Toby. I guess Zoe's sociology teacher wanted to comment about something, and there's just like...
Well, that was kind of a strange storyline, because it didn't even really constitute a storyline. It was just mentioned throughout that Zoe's sociology professor is kind of like borderline racist and like off the rails, and so they end up taking Zoe out of the class because of it.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
That was like the newspaper from Zoe's school wanted to comment on it, and instead of commenting on it, they just took Zoe out of the class. But I thought that was strange. But, like, does that mean that, like, her being in the class is, like, condoning his thoughts? I don't really know.
I think they're just laying the groundwork for some future plot lines. But, like, in a very nuanced sort of way.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
So, there was a fun Sam moment?
Yeah. Oh, where he just says to Toby, like, we can just play it. It's better when they do it.
What else? Coveting thy neighbor's wife, for example. How you going to enforce that one?
Sam?
We never have our chats anymore, Toby.
What chats?
Our late-night chats.
Did we ever do that?
No.
Yeah. There's also another good moment, which I don't know which one we'll play, but that's Sam. So there's a town in Alabama that wants to enforce only the 10 Commandments as law.
Yeah.
And
Sam's really attached to
Sam
this.
gets really hung up on just how this would actually be possible to enforce.
Right.
And he just says, like...
Leo, did you know that there's a town in Alabama that wants to... What do you think?
Coveting thy neighbor's wife is going to cause some problems.
That's what I said. Plus, if I were arrested for coveting my neighbor's wife, when asked about it, I'd probably bear false witness.
I mean, like, there's just so many great... He comes back to it multiple times in the episode, and I just love that kind of running joke.
It's funny, yeah. Well, and it's funny, there are several episodes, we've talked about this already, where, like, we'll have one character who's hung up on something sort of seemingly trivial throughout the whole episode. We had CJ one episode with her Secret Service name. We had Sam again with the UFOs. Like, it's fun when they sort of bring up this comedic line all throughout, and Sam does that really well in this one. But nobody else seems to really, Leo and Toby are just like, yeah, Sam, like, we know, like, they're not actually going to do it. Like, they just sort of cast him aside on that.
It's just amazing. I mean, Sorkin can write drama. I think you have to be able to do comedy well to write good drama. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
he can do both.
It just depends on what kind of drama. He can do both. Because, like, House of Cards is not funny, but House of Cards is also difficult to watch for it. Like, it makes The West Wing, there's so many, and we've talked about this before, but there's so many heavy topics that in order for this to be as enjoyable as it is, you have to have comedy.
You need some buoyancy, and he really brings that with the comedic relief in a way that's in a way that's smart. Like, we're talking about how they can enforce the 10 Commandments legally, and it's funny. That's the comic relief throughout the episode.
Yeah.
So
it is.
There's no.
I really like that.
There are moments of slapstick, not a ton. In the next episode, there's it's not slapstick, but physical comedy.
Toby has a fun episode too because, in small moments as well, because he is fighting for, I guess for PBS, for public broadcasting, and he's sitting down with the people. And I'm glad that I did a lot of Toby bashing in the beginning, but it was because they had intentionally written him as more combative than usual in the first few episodes, and then he has that moment with the president. And now we're seeing more of Toby's warm side. Like, I think since the since In Excelsis Deo, we're seeing more of his he's not as combative all the time, you know? So he has these moments with the PBS people. He corrects the guy on saying Fozzie Bear.
The guy says
because the guy says Fuzzy Bear, and he's like,
Who says? I mean, who would ever make that error? Honestly.
Yeah, nobody. What are you doing in such a professional setting, not knowing how to say? He
didn't even mispronounce it. Because when he corrected him,
not pronouncing, but he
was just like, oh, whatever. I'm like, wait a minute,
no, not whatever, sir.
No, you do not disrespect the Foz.
Toby likes it too. And Toby, because Toby when he's first not assigned this, but they're talking about it in the Oval Office. They're talking about how he's going to go do this task and talk to these people. He's talking about how he watches Julia Childs, or he watched Julia Childs. He watched all these things growing up, and there's so much more.
Your legacy is safe with me.
There's so many more charismatic moments for Toby in these episodes.
Yeah, he's like, "Don't worry, Mr. President. Your legacy is safe with me."
Yeah.
And CJ just has a laughing fit about the image of Toby watching Julia Childs, just sitting down and watching a cooking show. I don't know. It's just cute.
Yeah, it's very funny. Which, here's a fun fact. Well, not fun fact, but they mentioned the Nielsen ratings in when Toby's talking to the PBS people, and I actually got chosen to do the Nielsen ratings.
What?
Thing. I got a big envelope. Yeah. And I had to fill out a little questionnaire, and they said they might choose they'll choose other people for more intense questioning. So I'm still fingers crossed to do that, because listen, I love TV and I will answer all the questions.
That's so interesting.
So that was kind of cool.
I wasn't sure how they do it, or
I have no idea. I just opened my mailbox one day and there was this big blue envelope and it had a questionnaire, and I filled it out and they gave me $2.
$2?
$2 bills were stuck in the big blue envelope. They were like, "Thanks for your time."
Wow.
Okay.
I love that for you.
Yep.
I hope you get it.
Yeah. Me too. I'll keep you guys posted.
Oh man.
All the listeners will be on the edge of their seat. Is Sally gonna get picked for the Nielsen ratings?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else? So there's the whole Idell storyline.
Yeah.
And it's actually very interesting. And I liked what they did here. Anytime that there's a surprise, I just feel like it's great writing. Because I think they set it up where they're concerned that the dad, I can't remember his name, the Idell dad,
I don't remember.
They think he might be ashamed that his son was gay. And so, because he has some sort of hesitancy to support the president's new hate crime legislation or something. They're a little bit concerned that he might do or say something at this signing that would create a huge mess. And so they kind of have a couple extra pre-interviews with him, with Mandy and CJ. And so you're going into it, and CJ is already emotionally upset at the idea of that, which of course that is a very upsetting thing to think, that he would be ashamed of his own son. But then you get into it, and then we find out that this dude totally serves it up. He says, "I'm not ashamed of my son, my country is." Or my president is? I think it's my country is?
I think he says my country.
Yeah, so
he focuses on what Bartlett's doing, but then he says my country is in that
because
line.
He said that they haven't gone far enough in the hate crimes.
Right.
And I just thought it was a beautiful,
he says,
beautiful
it was
reversal.
a beautiful speech. He says something like, I want to know what quality my son lacked to be a parent or to be in the, it was just a very, it was a very well written, not argument, but I mean, I guess, argument. It was just very
They
good.
say that movie,
it's very emotional.
They say that movies or, TV in this instance are empathy machines, right? And I think that's awesome. And this show in general creates, it takes political issues and puts a human face on them. And I think it does foster more empathy on either side of different arguments and things like that. But this just makes it more specific. And I think anytime you can make something more specific and more human, that's when we really engage with them on a level that's meaningful. So anyway, I just really liked that.
I agree totally about that. The show goes a step beyond. It's not like a political argument. It personifies the different debates that the country has and different issues, and I think it's really interesting the way it does it throughout the whole series. Really,
yeah, it's so yeah, I love it. Also, so in CJ and Danny world, apparently they've been doing some kissing, but they have not gone out yet. Apparently, they're just kind of like working, smooching, working some more, talking. I mean, that's an approach,
right?
I'm not going to hate on that.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
hey, whatever.
They're
works,
busy, and that's probably the only exciting thing that's happened in a while for CJ. I mean, it is because she says that earlier, the audio clip that we played.
Yeah,
so funny. But then at the end. Because the reason why it's called Take Out the Trash Day is because this very important, human story about the Lydells, or at least the story about the fact that they were going to be at this signing and then they decided to not have them there because they didn't want the dad to speak out against the president or anything like that. They didn't want them to cause a scene. So they actually had them leave. And you hear it just on the TV in somebody's office. You hear CJ giving the press briefing, and she just mentions, like, the Lydells had to go back to Minnesota for, like, family commitments or something. And that's not true, They had them leave on purpose, and the story kind of goes out. The story of them not being there is a non-story, and it gets thrown out in the trash on Friday. And it's just... Dang, man, it just cuts so deep. Yeah. And CJ's upset, and she's talking to Danny. She looks to Danny for a lot of support.
She's upset. Yeah, she's upset about it, but she's still... It's just one of those moments where you see her put on the face of the press secretary instead of CJ, and she still does what she's supposed to do, And I think that's fun to watch. It's also interesting that... Not interesting, but fun note. It was a cool... bookend that's how we opened the episode with the press briefing and we closed it with the press briefing, which is fun when they do a little roundabout like that.
And Danny is a champ in this as well, because here's this moment, this like very human moment where CJ's upset about the hate crimes legislation not being good enough or things like that, and she was going to try to feed Danny the lead that the Lydells are going home, that she was going to try to use... She wasn't going to try to use it. She was going to let the thing play out. She wasn't going to stop the dad from speaking out because she thought that it needed to be said, which is smart.
Yes, exactly. She wanted what he had to say to be heard, but it still wasn't the way for it to happen. So it's good that Danny stopped her. And this is Danny's like third or fourth time being just a stand-up guy with some integrity. He has not had a failure type moment yet. He just always seems to do the right thing, which is I just love Danny. He's so great.
He's really looking out for her because as a reporter, he could have just taken the story, but instead he said, don't do this. Like, you're a professional, and tomorrow or 20 minutes from now, you're not going to be happy that you did this. So he's just a good dude, and props to you, Danny Kincannon. We're fans.
Yep. So what else happens? Oh, why? I don't understand why Mandy is going over the report with the president. Was it really necessary to have just the two of them in the room talking about the sex report? That just seemed avoidable to me.
Well, it was funny. I mean, it was just funny. I just loved the way they used the report in the whole episode. But also, who else were they going to use? Like, who else do we have as a co-star? Everyone else is busy.
Yeah, I guess so. I just felt like we could have had more people in there. But it leads to a good moment with Miss Landingham that we mentioned earlier.
There's also something about bananas, too, which is hilarious. Not related to the sex thing. That would be funny. But no, there's some sort of issue that Bartlett has with bananas or the banana industry. And it's really funny. Leo,
Banana imports.
Yeah, banana imports. And then Leo has this moment with the president, which I just thought was a good, notable, quotable.
Grown in those countries are sold by American companies.
I'm in trouble with Chiquita and Dole.
Well, it's not you so much as... Yeah, it's mostly you.
It's just, I like when Leo gets to be funny.
Yeah. Well, Leo has another good moment when, and I mentioned it for a second earlier, but when he talks to Simon Bly or whatever, the dude with the weird accent, Simon Bly essentially is saying that he's going to publicly say Leo should step down and resign. And Leo sticks up for himself and tells him off. And I'm glad that Leo tells him off. I thought that was a good moment because we've sort of seen Leo be down about it, and we've seen him want to resign, and which again, if this were real life, he probably would have to resign. Because it's not an idealistic world. But, for the show's purposes, obviously. Because, in flash to the meeting on the Hill with Sam and Josh, I think that happens right after, Sam or Josh, at one point, one of them literally says, Leo McGarry has done nothing wrong, or hasn't done anything wrong. And my reaction was, has he not? I don't know. Because we've established that he was addicted to painkillers and an alcoholic while he was labor secretary.
Yeah.
So maybe he hasn't done anything wrong as chief of staff since he's been clean.
Yeah.
And it's good that he sought help and he went about it in the right way. But being high while you're labor secretary, like that might be worth a hearing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love Leo. I want Leo to stay. Like, I love everything about Leo. But it just, that specific line, I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And... yeah, Sam and Josh get their hats handed to them by that meeting on the Hill when they're trying to negotiate it.
Yeah, the guy says, yes, they call them teenagers running the White House, which if the staff of the president were actually the ages of all of these staff, that's probably how a lot of people on the Hill would feel. I mean, really, because it's a lot of old boys club,
I wonder what the median age is.
That's a good, I was just actually thinking that maybe they are all that age. We can look into that.
I mean, they look, you know what, they will probably look younger than they are. Is that insulting? I mean,
I don't know. Josh always looks young.
Yeah, and Rob and everybody.
Yeah, oh yeah, Rob too. Yeah, they look young, yeah.
I don't think that's insulting. I think that's a good thing. I've been told that too.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
So I don't know how old people are. Also, I thought it was worth mentioning the scene with Leo and Paris Geller, Karen Larson, the way that he explains his alcoholism, I feel like it was a good explanation of addiction and alcoholism.
Addiction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just saying that, like,
he's like, I don't want a drink, I want 10 drinks.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really good
that was great.
way that they spelled it out. So
it was. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it for me too. Should we pick an MVP?
Yeah, who's yours?
Oh gosh. See,
make you go first.
I know you do that all the time, and I never have one. I initially said Sam for his scene with Paris. But now I mean, it seems like Leo is like an obvious choice, but then again, there's Danny who like kept the that moment with CJ. So it's hard for me to pick. Who would you pick of those?
I think mine's got to be Leo. I think he does a great job talking to that Simon dude. He has a great moment there defending himself. He has a great moment with Karen in doing something that none of us would, giving her a second chance. That was great. And then the whole speech about addiction. I just thought he had a very good episode overall. Yeah. And he's had a tough time lately, so he needs that MVP award.
Okay, let's just give him all the gold stars.
Okay.
Cool. Well,
All
overall,
right.
a good episode, I'd say.
Yeah. I liked it, yeah.
And
I like it. And up next is Take This Sabbath Day.
Also a good episode.
Which is yeah, that'll be fun. So
we'll
stay tuned.
We'll catch you there, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.